and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. I'm Aaron Porras, here with ILTV's Morning Briefing.
Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman is now again stating that Israel has exhausted all options with Gaza and that Israel has no choice but to go to war with the coastal enclave. Speaking to a meeting of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee yesterday, Lieberman said that Hamas was behind the recent surge in violence from the Gaza Strip and has been paying large amounts of money to protesters. He continued to say that he does not believe in reaching an arrangement with Hamas because, quote, it hasn't worked, doesn't work, and won't work in the future, end quote. Last Wednesday, the Security Cabinet also discussed possible responses to Gaza after 2 rockets were fired from the Strip, one which hit a home in Beersheba, and the other which landed in the sea off the central Israeli coast. And while the response wasn't all-out war, the IDF did launch a series of air raids, bombing 20 Hamas targets, including a terror tunnel from within Gaza into Israel. But Avik Dichter of the Likud, who is also the chairman of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee, accused Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas of inflaming tensions in the Gaza Strip by preventing supplies and funding from reaching the people living there. He said that, quote, it's intolerable, unacceptable, and unreasonable that Abbas closes the faucet for Gaza and that Israel has to pay the price, end quote. But the primary driver for Lieberman's statements are the now 7-month-long Palestinian March of Return riots. Since March 30th, Palestinians largely organized by Hamas have taken part in weekly violent riots that have involved burning tires and throwing rocks, explosives, and Molotov cocktails along the security fence, sending flaming kites and bomb-filled balloons over the border into Israeli communities, and committing shooting attacks. Hamas has stated that its goal is to force Israel to accept a Palestinian right of return, which it will never do, and to remove the blockade around the coastal enclave, which is equally maintained by Egypt. Israeli security forces are again crying foul on Lebanese terror organization Hezbollah for yet another violation of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701. In part, the resolution establishes a demilitarized zone between Israel and Lebanon and describes the terms of a ceasefire agreement. But according to a statement by the IDF, the Iranian terror proxy has established an observation post just 1 kilometer away from Israel's border near the village of Al-Adisa. In addition, the IDF charges that the outpost is run under the banner of a fake environmental NGO, Green Without Borders. The Army spokesperson's unit stated that, quote, Hezbollah acts as if the IDF is not aware of its activities, but the IDF regularly monitors the activities of Hezbollah and, as it's shown recently, is aware of this and other activities, end quote. Both Israel and Hezbollah often accuse one another of violating the terms of the ceasefire agreement. But this latest revelation also comes just days after an Iranian cargo jet was discovered to have allegedly transported advanced weapon systems to Hezbollah, including GPS for precision missiles. International authorities were alerted to the delivery after an Iranian Boeing 747 cargo jet made an unusual stop in Beirut, well outside its normal shipment route to Damascus. This information was reportedly confirmed by multiple Western forces, including the United States, and falls directly in line with what Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said in his United Nations General Assembly speech last month. At the time, he repeated that, quote, Iran is directing Hezbollah to build secret sites to convert inaccurate projectiles into precision-guided missiles that can target deep inside Israel within an accuracy of 10 meters, end quote. But despite Israel's warnings, UNIFIL troops have been blocked from inspecting the site, again in violation of the UN resolution. Israel will likely act independently then in the near future. Israel is now reportedly attempting to negotiate with the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan regarding the annexation of 2 areas on the Israel-Jordan border. But last night, responding to such reports, Jordanian Foreign Minister Ayman Safadi said emphatically that first, no such negotiation request has yet been submitted by Israel, and second, that even if it were, it'd be rejected. Safadi said, quote, we will not negotiate over the sovereignty of these areas, end quote, echoing King Abdullah's comments from just a few days ago when he first made the announcement. Safadi continued that, quote, if we do open talks, the only question will be how we cancel these leased areas, end quote. The 2 areas, Naharaim and Sofar, are primarily agricultural and have been worked by Israeli farmers for 25 years as part of the 1994 Israel-Jordan peace agreement. Israelis in the area are obviously against the annexation, though, and are in contact with the government regarding the move. But it's suspected that due to heavy pressure from Jordanian lawmakers, anything short of a complete Israeli withdrawal is unlikely. According to new reports, United States President Donald Trump and French President Emmanuel Macron reportedly secretly spoke about Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu last month. The 2 leaders allegedly discussed the United States' still unrevealed Middle East peace deal, sparking worries among many Israeli officials who suspect Trump's deal will be worse for the country than the status quo. This is not the first time Netanyahu's stance on peace talks were undermined by the United States and French presidents either. The same thing happened with Obama and Sarkozy back in 2011. But as suspected, this time around, Macron reportedly said that Netanyahu was not interested in moving forward with the peace plan because he, quote, loves the status quo, unquote. Trump reportedly agreed with this observation, which then prompted Macron to ask why then Trump is only putting pressure on the Palestinians. Trump apparently replied that it's because the Palestinians, quote, don't want to talk to the United States peace team, and that is unacceptable, end quote. But Trump supposedly went on to say that he would put pressure on Netanyahu as well when the time is right. But this is the first time Trump reportedly talked about getting tough with Netanyahu. He is seemingly Netanyahu's closest ally, which he even noted by referencing the United States' massive multi-billion-dollar annual aid package for Israel. The White House neither confirmed nor denied this report, but we'll find out one way or another as Washington promised to reveal their peace plan in a span of 2 to 4 months.
That's all for now. I'm Aaron Porras, and see you later with our main daily broadcast from Israel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time.